Good morning, everyone. For me, it's a pleasure to be here. My name is Germán López. I am Chief Digital Officer for Banco Industrial Guatemala, and this is my friend.
Hi, I'm Andrés Rodriguez, CEO at Free.
Today, we come to talk about innovation and the importance of alliance for innovation. As you will know, in general, the world is changing faster than ever. Before, significant advances in innovations were made in decades, then in years, and now we have innovation delivered around the world every day. The increase in the speed of innovation is due to different factors. And to mention some of the principal, we can mention the increase of the computer processing capacity and the increase of the internet connection speed. This situation brings many challenges, but also brings many opportunities. And the financial industry is no stranger to this situation. Banks are in a constant race to transform ourselves, to be more and more agile, to offer new innovations to our customers. However, as banks, we cannot pretend to innovate alone. And let me repeat this, we cannot pretend to innovate alone. Banks must seek to accelerate our innovation through new methodologies, acquisition of technologies, and innovating together with others. And for innovation with others, we consider very important innovating together with fintechs. Now, innovating together with a fintech does not mean innovating with any opportunity that appears. In order to innovate together with others, banks must be clear about their digital strategy. Just for them, understand the value proposition of a fintech to validate if it makes sense with the bank's strategy. And in this process, Banco Industrial found an interesting value proposition in the Soy Free project to deliver a different user experience to our customers and to expand the possibilities of interconnecting with other digital payment ecosystem. With this, I leave you with Andrés so that he can tell us more about Soy Free and this interesting project. Please, Andrés.
Thank you, Germán. So Germán asked me to be here today to speak about two things. One is the process of innovation around what we're doing at Free. And the second is, as everyone asked me, some tips on negotiating, dealing, and everything with banks. So that's sort of the process. If we have time, we'll do questions. But before we start, Germán's birthday was yesterday, and instead of being with his family, he was eating dinner with me. So if we can all just say happy birthday to him.
Thank you, Andrés. Thank you. Thank you.
So I'll start with this, and it's cash is king, and it's our enemy. For those of you that are not from Guatemala, that's our 5 quetzal bill, and it's king. And let me just ask a question first. Who can tell me how much of the transactional volume in the country and the region is cash versus other payment methods? Can someone take a guess? Sorry? Yeah, roughly that. So it is a big enemy, and we have some numbers. 85% of commercial transactions are cash, so you were right. It's probably more in 90 since they're not measurable, but you were right. 80 to 85% of remittances are paid in cash, so banks basically serve as huge cash dispensing networks. Financial inclusion is still a big challenge. The banked and unbanked, well, there's more unbanked than banked. 60% of the economy is informal, and that's huge. The average corner shop transaction is 8 quetzales, roughly $1.10. And the worst thing of it all is cash is expensive. And cash is expensive for various reasons. It's expensive for governments in that there is no tax revenue from cash transactions. It is expensive for banks as all the infrastructure around cash is really, really expensive. Not Banco Industrial, they probably have more expenses on those, but just one bank that's also a partner at Free, just for one retailer, they spend over $1 million a year just in moving cash for that retailer. So it is expensive for banks as well. Then you have the expense for businesses, and businesses can lose business by not having digital alternatives because cash is limited in what you have. There's room for theft. There's also room for extortions and such in small businesses. And then the individual who's the person that's the most affected by cash, and it's the actual person that uses cash to pay, is the fact that cash lives in a silo, and it's just not just a silo, but a digital silo, a non-digital silo, sorry. And what does that mean? There's no transactional data on that individual. So when they do need credit, there is no data to give them credit on. That becomes really expensive in the long run for them, and they end up in terrible spots for credit, or can't get credit, or get very expensive credit. So cash is expensive, but it is still king. And it's baffling when you think about it, how with the expense associated to cash, it's still 85 to 90% of transactional volume. So at Free, sort of, and with our partner banks, what we decided is that to achieve true innovation and massive impact, we must solve for value. And to do that, we thought, how does this work? What are the alternatives? And how can we do and create real value to any individual that uses our services, our platform, and the such? And, sorry, basically what we sort of got into is that when you see the numbers of digital transactions, we need to be there, right? And it is not just saying, say goodbye to cash with a very nice sort of marketing strategy or something, but we know it must really create value to individuals that use us. So we took cash and the benefits of cash, because evidently there are many benefits if it's still the mostly used payment method in the country. We built all those things, which is immediacy, the acceptance part, no transactional cost, and all that. And then we added a digital layer on top of it. And I often get sort of asked, like, why don't you build your solution on top of existing payment networks, such as cards? And while we will include cards in our process, we saw the numbers, and basically there's a 15% adoption on cards, 85% on cash. The POS and card issuing and penetration in the country and the region is very low. So we thought, let's build something new, right? We cannot continue sort of building on top of a network that, while it is profitable in a market, and it is very profitable, and it's growing at 30, 40% yearly, it's still 7.8% of credit card adoption is still 7.8% in the country. When you combine credit and debit cards, there's 5.5 in the country. For a population of, adult population of 11 million, but those 5.5 are not unique customers. They're total cards. So if any of you has 2, 3, 4, 5 credit cards or debit cards, they all count as one. So actual adoption is estimated at around 1.5 to 2 million individuals with a payment method, roughly, again, 10, 15%. So you see the problem we had? So when I asked, like, why don't you build on top of card networks? My answer is simple. A lot of smart people are doing that. There is a market, but for us, it would be incremental innovation at best. So we decided to build our own sort of payment network and transactional rails. We have a vision for the future that is way more inclusive and way better than what we have now. And that means everyone's involved. We want the CEO at Banco Industrial, Luis Lara, to use the same digital payment network as Luis López in a corner shop at Salcaja uses. And when you think about that, it is impactful. Corner shops, average price I mentioned is 8 quetzales. Credit card rails are not and will never be profitable for any of the parties with that involved. So we decided to build our own thing. Our payment network is called Free. We are directly integrated into our participating financial institutions, Banco Industrial obviously being one of them. And that allows us end-to-end connection where we can process payments and transactions and build on top of that at a value of near zero. We're closer to 0 than 1. So that's amazing in what we can provide in the value. So we can do microtransactions. If some of you have ever used Free, you can do a 1-cent transaction, still rent. It's still lucrative for us. So it's a way to bring something new, and that's sort of where we're going. So we're well on our way. That's our quarterly growth. The last one over there, it was at the beginning of the month, so we still have a lot to go in this quarter. We have a 4.9 to Friday on the same Q last year. We're expected to close 7x. We're 9x last month from the same month last year. We've done 1.25 million plus transactions. We've reached the 1 billion Total transacting volume will close the year at 1.4 minimum. So we're getting the traction. We have 7 financial institutions. 2 more are on the way. And I feel safe to say that after our conversation yesterday, we probably have another one. So that's our monthly traction. As you can see, it's interesting. We're getting big. We're becoming. And sort of, if some of you were at Pascal's meeting yesterday, he said, isn't that interesting? And we see this very interesting. And the last one, again, is just to last Friday, so we still have a lot to go. So the future of payments starts now. Why do I say the future? If we've been out for over a year, and basically we're now going to be launching the payment rails at Free for commercial purposes. So as you can see, this is a $100 bill, or the 100 quetzal bill. Let's use it as a standard. Today, September 13th, 2022, 85% cash, 15% cards, and you see that the bill is laughing. If some of you have seen the real bill, it's not like that. But he feels safe. He's happy. That was the designer's thing to make it funnier. And that's September 13th, 2025. In 3 years, we want the bill to be sad. Credit cards will grow, and we estimate they will get to 25%. Cash will go down to 49%, and our goal, 26%. Our objective as a company is to become the largest non-cash payment network in the country in 3 years. So this is what we're looking at as a future. This is sort of what we wanted to share with you today. This is Einstein, all of you know him, and he said something to the tune of, insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. And that's what we sort of see with the industry and sort of pushing the same products and having non-receptive customers. So again, this is me in about 2 minutes. I quoted myself, and it's basically, when it comes to payments, there is an industry-wide programming of both pushing existing products to non-receptive customers while increasing the infrastructure and spend around cash. The opportunity for us is right there, in the middle between cards and cash. We live in that space and hope to see you paying there soon. Then, it is bold, but remember that David did beat Goliath, and that's very important. Then, we go on to the next part, which is some tips to people wanting to negotiate with banks. Germán is a tough negotiator, by the way, so be ready for that. That picture, by the way, is me at Luis Lara's, Banco Industrial's CEO's office, closing the deal at Free. And as you can see, I was wearing tennis shoes. That was part of what we're doing and part of that innovation between traditional companies and fintech. It's that meeting of different ways of thinking and acting and doing with sort of the incumbents and all their benefits and things. So a few lessons on partnering and negotiating with banks from my, and this is very personal experience. The first one is banks are open for business, just not any business. So you have to create a good value prop for banks. They will give you the meetings, but be sure to bring good business for them. Which brings me to the next one. Amplify their business and they will love you. Right? Amplify their business, go into non-existing markets, create markets for them, simplify their processes, create value for them, make their business better, and they will open the door for you. If you don't, they obviously will not. Add real value. Again, a lot of the value that's being proposed in general is incremental. If you can do something exponential, if you add real value to them, the doors are open, the business will happen. Germán will not let me lie at this point. Look for underserved and uncaptured markets and offer a solution. And this is really important. Again, the opportunity is not what everyone else is doing, but where are the gaps? Where are there gaps in giving out credit? Where are there gaps in payments? Where are there gaps in technology? Where are there gaps in whatever you can think of? Find an underserved or uncaptured market, find a gap, and attack that. And as a fintech, the cool thing is that you don't have to do everything the banks do. You just have to do one thing really well. And that gives you a great opportunity to solve for a problem for institutions that have to do everything really well. Do not put yourself in a position where for you to win, someone else must lose. And this is very, very important. I actually understood it very late in the process. Because there are lucrative businesses involved for banks happening. They will continue with them. And if you want, what you want to upend is the status quo, it will be hard if you just say it's either this or that. If you amplify their business, if you trust the business, that's great. And one of the examples is cards. If you remember a few slides back, we see a future where cards grow. They were at 15. We expect them to grow at 25, so they're also winning. It is lucrative for all of us, but we see a huge opportunity where cards cannot go, and that's where we're going. So if you're able to put yourself in a position where you increase business, you go to uncaptured markets, your success does not depend on someone else losing, you're in a very good spot. Then be different and unique, right? Again, same thing, if it's the same thing others are offering, you might win, you'll lose, someone else is doing the same. You bring a unique proposal, it will happen. It might take longer than you would want to, but it will happen. Understand your partner's business and yours. So my first sort of recommendation to anyone trying to do business with banks, going into fintech, truly understand how a bank works, what's their business, how they make money, where they would increase their profits, and understand that business, and then build yours on amplifying that one. And be nice. Some people are assholes, and basically what you have to be is nice with everyone you're dealing with and negotiating, and you become friends, and if you're nice and the whole process is good, you'll get to where you want to get. So with that in mind, Germán has an announcement.
Thank you very much, Andrés. Very nice point that you talk. With the Soy Free project, we can continue delivering value to our customers. And that is why today we want to announce a new function that we have developed together between Banco Industrial and Soy Free. And with this, we can bring a better experience in this digital payment ecosystem. I'll leave you with the next video. Please, Juan.
We need the volume, sorry.
Nuestros más de 700,000 usuarios de BI en línea pueden enviar efectivo a cualquier celular gracias a transferencias móviles, permitiendo enviar dinero desde sus cuentas hacia otras personas, sin importar el banco destino, donde no es necesario conocer el número de cuenta para transferir, sino únicamente utilizando el número de celular. A lo largo del año, se realizan más de 400,000 transferencias móviles al mes, representando un equivalente a más de 2,000 millones de quetzales. Pero, ¿sabías también que ahora podrás realizar el envío de tus transferencias móviles BI desde la aplicación Free y sin importar que seas cliente BI o no? Solo debes descargar tu aplicación Free, registrarte, asociar alguna cuenta de los bancos afiliados, seleccionar la opción Enviar dinero, elegir la opción Retiro en cajero automático y listo. Envía tu transferencia móvil con tan solo conocer el número de celular. Lo mejor de todo es que puedes cobrarla desde nuestra red de más de 2,000 cajeros BI y de nuestros más de 2,800 agentes bancarios, haciendo juntos más de 4,800 puntos de servicio donde puedes retirar tu dinero alrededor de toda Guatemala. O si eres cliente BI, puedes también cobrarla desde BI en línea app. Ahora, ya lo sabes, envía tus transferencias móviles desde BI en línea app y ahora también desde Free. Banco Industrial, juntos siempre hacia adelante.
Thank you very much. Thank you. The mobile transfer BI from the option from the Soy Free app will be available to our customers next month. You have a last point, right?
Yes, two last really quick things. One is, a lot of you might be thinking, this is a paradox. They're talking about killing cash and they're now opening up cash within the ecosystem. And then the process is, if people use cash, we cannot kill it at once. Our job is to allow individuals to be able to receive payments within our ecosystem, and then if they want to cash out, cash out. What we'll strive to do, and what is our main goal, is make that cash expensive for the users to cash out. So our main goal, and what we will do through offers, services, partnerships, whatever, is make that quetzal you want to cash out be able to buy more within our ecosystem. So it'll be worth more. And then we can make cash more expensive and people will sort of realize how to not work. And the other big thing about this, and I don't know if someone thought about it, is that this will allow us, for individuals that are unbanked, to receive money through our app. They will be able to receive money, transact within the ecosystem, giving them access, which is the first and hardest part of bringing people into the ecosystem. And then if they want to, they can cash out in over 4,800, whatever amounts of, huge amounts of access points you have, which include agentes bancarios, which then gives us a huge granularity around the country. So while we want to kill cash, we first have to include it, make it expensive, and sort of go from there. And sort of before we finish up, there's also something open that may be coming soon as well. I cannot say more, but we wanted to sort of bring that out and open for any questions you might have. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Just final. For a final quote, we are convinced that innovating together, we will be able to create a better digital payment ecosystem. Thank you very much, y muchas gracias a todos.
We have any questions? Ahorita.
Hey, thanks so much for the presentation. But what you were saying that in the future we are going to have 49% of transactions in cash. That's an amount that's going to reduce drastically. So my question is, what major changes need to happen in order for that to happen? Because when I take a look to the banks, and everyone knows here how painful it is to open a bank account, you have to give tons of information. And then when I look at the education that we have in our population, sometimes it might be like education is an actual problem for people to get into that platform. So my question is for both of you, what major changes need to happen in Guatemala in order to have people on board these kind of solutions? Thank you.
You want to go first?
Well, I think that first we have to deliver the technology. There's a little bit difficult, the adoption, but we have to construct the technology. That's the first step, and we are working on that. Second, we have to understand the country, and it's not just the technology. We have to look about the connection. That is why we have to work together with telcos and improve the connection to our customers. I don't know if you...
And then, it's a really good question, and there's various things to that. One is the cultural aspect, but you have a mistake in what you said. And in your question, you said opening up a bank account is very hard. And the problem is that what you have to provide is access. With this that we just announced, people will have access to a digital ecosystem, then go out to cash before they even need a bank account. So it's just about receiving the payment, adding value to them in receiving payments, moving around, and then they can graduate into opening up bank accounts and such. So the first thing is access, and what we do with this is democratize access, so it's easier for individuals to do. And ultimately, it's about value, right? Cash is, in essence, here in Guatemala, about 200, 300 years ago, they used cacao beans as currency. And cash is the cacao bean of now. Like it's the oldest payment method to date, and it's still the most widely used. What that means is that up to today, nothing has ever created more value for the majority of the population than what cash does. For whatever reason, we can discuss the philosophy, we can discuss anything. Value still provides the most cash. So from our perspective, and what we have to do is create more value to the individual to prefer whatever service and product we're providing than cash. And that's where I mentioned that our challenge and our goal and mission is to make that quetzal within the ecosystem that more lucrative than using it outside.
And I will add that we have to focus on the user experience. How we convert this process in a simple process. Now for a digital account, we have to fill a lot of information, and in that process, the people doesn't want to continue. Yeah? But we have to work this with the regulator. So that is important. I think it comes, it's just time. Thank you.
Someone else?
Is there okay, there it is. So you mentioned that even 1 cent transactions are profitable. So my question is, do you charge the user at the end of that, or just how is it that you're able to make it, such a low transaction profitable and scale?
Excellent. So there's 2 business models around free. One is the banks pay us, so that's really cool. And the second one is that merchants that come into our platform will pay a fee. It is just generally cheaper than the tax on commerce that now happens within the existing ecosystems. And free will always be, and this is a promise that we negotiated from the get-go, that any individual person that uses it will always be free. Remember, our transactional costs, by being integrated into banks, allow us to provide that service free, basically. So individuals will never pay when they use it or when they receive payments.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.